evening, Alan.
Good evening.
Love that applause. Hey, welcome to the very first episode of something brand new. It's called Talk the Walk. Talk the Walk. I've got Alan Weiss here. Alan, what does talk the walk mean to you?
Well, people always say you should walk the talk. That is, demonstrate what you think people should be doing and you should be doing. But I think that you also have to talk the walk, which is explain your successes, talk about things that didn't work well. And especially if you're at all in the marketing business or professional services, if you don't blow your own horn, there is no music. And so if you've accomplished something, let people know.
Actually, I used your line. I had someone reach out because I've self-published a book last year. It's done pretty well. And a book publisher actually reached out and said, oh, I love that you were so proactive in doing that. And I said, yeah, well, my mentor always tells me you've got to blow your own horn or there is no music. So it's a very strong line that stuck with me. Hey, look, we're doing something new. We're experimenting here using this technology on something that's a really interesting new concept. What excites you about doing this show? Like, why did you sort of reach out about starting something like this?
Well, for one thing, you're the only person I know who speaks faster than I do. And so I think that's interesting. It keeps me sort of mentally fit. It's like going to the gym. I also think that we're in two different hemispheres, right? So we're completely around the world from each other, and we sort of see things from different angles. We are obviously, what can I say? We are obviously different genders. I think that's safe to say these days.
You can safely say that.
Yes. And, slightly different ages. So, but we get along fine. We really enjoy each other. And I think I think the synergy of that is going to be wonderful for our viewers. And if it's not, it's their fault.
It is, of course. I mean, I think the reason every time I do an episode with you, the amount of messages I get from people all around the world, like, that was so great. They learned so much. And sometimes it's even actually the first time they've even heard you share anything. And they're just so impressed that they join your sort of world. So I think it's really great that we get to have this sort of discussion and just dialogue around things and how we see things from our different hemispheres and perspectives as well.
So nobody says to you, Leanne, that was a great show, even with Alan, right?
No, it's actually the opposite.
Okay.
It's like, did you even realize I was on there? I was like, do you know what I did to create that? No, I'm just joking. Really positive responses. So hopefully we can keep that up and keep the consistency going for others as well.
Yeah, so what's in it for you?
Honestly, just getting the chance to talk to you and also try something different out and add some life to what I'm doing. So I've been podcasting using very similar formats for a couple hundred episodes now. If you are seeing this online, you'll see that we're using a tool called StreamYard to stream this. It's pushing me out of my comfort zone. And I think to do that with a friend and someone that kind of despises technology is kind of fun too.
I'll buy that.
Excellent. So let's talk about this what we're keen to do is really sort of commentate some of the news that's out as well. And if it does work, I'm going to share my screen and just share a New York Times article that you were keen to sort of riff on. All right. It is this article here. They spent their life savings on life coaching. And just the quote, if you're listening to this through audio, we all think it'll never happen to us. That's the really scary part. Some people who wanted to improve their lives and careers through coaching found themselves trapped in what they described as a pyramid scheme. Alan, what stood out for you with this article?
Well, I want to emphasize the fact that this article is on life coaching. And maybe you know what life coaching is because I don't. But a couple of years ago, Marshall Goldsmith and I wrote a book together called Life Storming. I should have recorded the ideation sessions we had. I mean, they're amazing riffs. So Marshall at one point, bless his heart, says, look, Marshall, I'm the greatest executive coach in the world, he says, matter-of-factly. And he says matter-of-factly, and you, Alan, are the greatest entrepreneurial coach in the world. And so, we ought to write this book together and we ought to get, people in line for what works and what doesn't work. And as we're doing this, he says to me, do you know that most people who call themselves life coaches are women? And most of these people are starving to death. They're not making any money. So the article you cited is even worse. They're losing money to these pyramid schemes, But if you're a life coach and you don't have a life, what does this mean? You take your car to a mechanic who knows how to maintain cars. You want to ski, you go with somebody who's, certified by the Universal Ski Coach Association and can do black diamonds, even though you just want to go down bunny hills. I'll tell you one more thing that you're going to appreciate, because you, like I do, speak a lot. You're sitting in an audience, and here's a speaker who's divorced twice, who is a heavy drinker, who chain smokes, and who's 30 pounds overweight, and his subject is how to control your life. Right? We've
Yeah.
both seen it. So I don't know what a life coach is. I don't know why people need life coaches, but I think I'm not surprised these people lost all that money.
What would you suggest if you've got friends that are jumping onto these schemes?
Well, I would suggest you have to ask yourself, what is it you're trying to provide in terms of value and for whom? And then you ask, do I have the skills and the behaviors to do that? And if I don't, can I acquire them? And I have to tell you that I don't think anybody can be a quote unquote life coach or a lifestyle coach or anything like it unless you've lived a life. And so, you can't do this at 25. You're lucky if you can do it at 35. When I was president of a consulting firm up here, behavioral consulting firm, from which I got fired, my famous background, on the board of directors of this company was the president of the American Psychological Association. And I said to him, why do psychologists in America have the highest rate of suicide among all professions? And he said, because we draw disturbed people. We draw people who want to solve their own problems, and they're often not able to do so. And I think life coaches are trying to solve their own problems. But, in therapy, you pay the therapist. And so the point here is that you can't go into a profession hoping that you'll be cured. You have to go into a profession that provides value to others. So I think there are all kinds of valuable coaches. I think coaching is essential. I don't believe in degrees in coaching and certifications in coaching, but I do believe there are disciplines in coaching. I've never had a consulting assignment where I didn't have to coach. You coach practically every day, I'm sure. But I think when you hang out some kind of metaphoric shingle that says I'm a life coach, I think it's deceptive.
Yeah. Can we talk about certifications for a moment? Because it is a thing that a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to get this, so I'm going to do a certification. It's like to upgrade, it's like the automatic assumption is I need a certification in this. Right. Like I could decide today I'm going to certify people in my workshop blueprint, right? I could seriously make that up myself. No one's going to come over me and say you can't do that or whatever. I just make it up, license it.
Well, you've triggered my favorite certification story.
Okay.
So I knew this woman who was part of an association I belonged to, and she was building a coaching practice. And she said, can I follow you around and watch what you do? And so I let her do that. I introduced her as a colleague. She didn't pay me anything. So she founds a coaching magazine, hard copy at the time. And she promptly names herself Coach of the Year and puts herself on the cover. And it was insanely promotional. And she got herself a spot on Oprah Winfrey. And she was on Oprah Winfrey for probably a year before people began to say, there's no there. But she never did a thing for me except once. She said, thank you so much for allowing me to follow you around. I'd like to offer you some kind of service. What would you like to do that you're not doing? I said, it's not necessary. She said, tell me, you must. I said, well, I'd love to have my own radio show. She said, I'm going to help you. I said, okay. And about 3 days later, I got a card from her, and it said, Alan, for your own radio show, every morning, say this 3 times. I will have a radio show. I will have a radio show. That was the life coach.
What?
Can't make that up.
She was on Oprah, and she was, this isn't the lady that wrote The Secret, right?
No secret.
I mean, she didn't write the book The Secret, because like, that's, the whole.
She did not write The Secret. No, that was Sherry.
Yeah. So obviously you didn't write the affirmations, and that's why you don't have the radio show, Alan.
Apparently so.
Yeah. That's the thing. It is so like there are no regulations. I mean, anyone can create the certifications, and that's why it is kind of scary as well. What are the boundaries for your work? Because you do, like I said, when I work with you, it's not just around business. You talk about many different things. And is it because you've got that experience, you've worked with so many people, you have that confidence?
I'm a holistic kind of guy,
Yeah.
In other words, we don't have a business life and a personal life. We have a life.
Yeah.
And we better make everything we do have access to our entirety. And so consequently, you're not going to be successful personally if you're not successful professionally, and vice versa. So, I've had people tell me, I don't call anyone or return email if I'm on a project. Yeah, well, then you might as well live in a hole in the ground. If we can't carry on multiple things at once, we have a problem. And so I
Mm.
find that people have aspirations. I improve their aspirations, and then I help them exceed that, because people don't realize their own strengths. And people have low self-esteem. You'll hear me say that throughout our time together, consistently and constantly. People have low self-esteem as a whole. And so consequently, they don't take prudent risk. They don't exploit what they're good at. They don't blow their own horn.
Mm. Something that you've done when I've witnessed your sessions and been even in Hawaii is at, we'll say to you, "Hey, Alan, what's one thing we need to work on?" Or it could even be in the space of one day, right? You've had 20 people join you for a one-day workshop. You might not even know all of them. They've asked questions through the day. You have some sense of familiarity over who they are. At the end of the day, though, you can go to each person and say, "This is what you need to work on." Like, how the heck do you do that? Because I would love to do that.
A lot of people have asked me that because they can't believe I do it, right?
Yeah.
And the fact is, I can tell each person because I like people. And so I notice things about people. And if I see something that's consistent, I mean, my background is training in critical thinking, and so I can spot distinctions and patterns very easily. So I don't look for one-off things, but if I find somebody doing something consistently, if it's good, I help reinforce it. If it's not good, I help them improve it. And I find that you've got to be absolutely frank and candid with people, or they're not going to believe you.
Mm.
We talked at another point about sympathy versus empathy. And empathy is about knowing how people feel. Sympathy is feeling sorry for them. So tough love is empathy without the sympathy. And I think if you're honest with people and you tell them, here's what you do and here's why it's not working, they listen to that, because I don't assume people are damaged. I assume people want to improve.
Yeah, and I think back to being damaged, that's what I find a lot of life coaching people that market themselves, they're basically playing up their own life and assuming other people are damaged. Like, are you not having the life that you wanted? Like that type of, I kind of am allergic to that type of marketing.
Right.
And I think
Right.
that's why I'm attracted to your work, is because it's like you assume people are generally doing their best, and but let's elevate that, as opposed to, oh, I'm better than you and you should listen to me because I'm living this great life, which is all Instagrammable anyway.
Are you ever surprised uh, when you see people who have every opportunity to improve, but they really don't?
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, what's holding them back? And they tend to create things that don't exist. They're holding themselves back.
Yeah, they hold themselves back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have to be vulnerable enough to say, I need help. I need somebody to tell me how I can get out of this rut I'm in. But if you don't have high self-esteem, you're going to protect yourself and you're going to blame somebody else for not getting ahead. It's the boss, it's the technology, it's the competition, it's the society. They're all against me.
Yeah. And you've written a book, Million Dollar Maverick was really around boosting that self-worth. And a lot, I mean, in all of your books, you talk about it. Is it just the number one thing? Is just building self-worth? If we were to forget everything else, is it live a better life? Is it just about growing our self-worth?
Yeah, I have a book coming out in a few months on building communities, and I
Yeah.
think the book after that I'm going to work on is building self-worth. It's always been a problem, and as things get more complicated, high tech, pandemic, it gets worse and worse. Now today, people feel they have no control at all or very little, and so self-esteem plummets. Do this with COVID. No, don't do this with COVID. Do that with COVID. No, don't do that with COVID. So you get conflicting scientific comment, conflicting political comment, conflicting normative pressures. And so add in everything we're trying to deal with. There were two wars going on in the world. I mean, you add all this together and you say, oh my God. And that's why, by the way, in the United States, I don't know how it is in Australia, uh, this is a very powerful, strong economy here. And people think it's not. People who live here think it's not. But that's because they don't have the self-worth to say, let me take a dispassionate look at things. Instead, they're listening to what they hear on the internet, and they're listening to the media, and the media is always negative because it makes better headlines.
Yeah. We don't have a strong economy as you do over there. So it's rose-colored glasses is quite a good thing to have on at the moment. But on the topic of news, and you said, like, people feel their worth is lowered because of everything that's being hit by us, the war, you listen to the media and that can really affect how you're feeling. So some people, there's sort of two schools. Some people just go opt out of news and just stop reading the news and just, wake up and do their thing. But you actually love the news. You love reading it. Are you very selective over what you read and where you read it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I read
Yeah.
the Wall Street Journal every day, and I
Yeah.
read it physically. I like to bend a newspaper and tear things out and so forth.
Yeah.
Uh, and so if I'm on a trip where I can't get the Wall Street Journal for some reason, they get piled up here at home. And when I come back, I read all the back issues that I missed. I don't read them all at once, but I'll read them one a night. It's a pleasure for me because it's such a well-written, informative newspaper. I read the local newspaper because I want to see what's going on in my habitat here. Who's an Eagle Scout and what team won and lost. Uh, I'm very, very selective about the internet because there is no separation in the internet between opinion and fact. And the internet is overwhelmingly about confirmation bias. People want to read only what they believe, and they don't want to read any challenges to what they believe. So that's a dangerous place. I was told long ago, I took some journalism courses in college. I won 8 awards as editor of the school newspaper. And what somebody told me way back then was, listen, Alan, always consider the source. And that's very important information.
Yeah, and that goes to feedback as well, right? Like, don't take unsolicited feedback, especially from. It's interesting because I used to take feedback from everyone, and then I heard your advice around that, and it's like, well, I don't actually want to be that person, so why the heck am I listening to them?
I haven't made you a less good person, have I, Leanne? I mean, I haven't.
I don't know. What do you think I've improved?
I think you've improved tremendously. I think that. I know I'm not just kidding you. I mean, you're significantly different from when we first met because I think that you were focusing. You weren't as explorative. You were good at what you did, but it was a little bit narrow. I'm trying to be nice here. It's hard for me, but I think now well, you're the one who got me to go to Brisbane.
Yeah, well, I think you've just opened the floodgates. I think maybe there was some potential in me to do that, but I just didn't have that. I was told niche down and do this, but you're like, no, you can live this. I mean, I actually like the fact that you drive a convertible. I've always wanted one, but I thought it was a bit whatever. Anyway, I've got a convertible now. And my revenue doubled the second after I bought that. My revenue just doubled. Is there anything in that? Would your life coach tell you that was this?
Yeah, right. Well, listen, I have 3 convertibles, so we have to get you up there.
I love, honestly, the convertible. It's been the biggest thing. I call it my mental health car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the best thing ever, especially in Brisbane all year round. You can just go cruising in it.
You're right. I get maybe 5 months out of them, and then I have to keep the tops up. But yeah. So it's still worth it for me.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I'm just going to share one more article. You talked about the Wall Street Journal. This was in the Wall Street Journal recently. I've got a subscription. I really enjoy reading it too. So I don't know if you can see that headline there, but the
yeah.
was, don't you dare call me without texting first.
Right.
I thought it would be a fun one to riff on, given that we are of different ages. I completely agreed with this. I love getting a text message or a heads up before someone calls me. What do you think?
Wait, first, before I reply, why is that?
I just like having a heads up that I'll need to be on a call, or I can anticipate some time to put against it. I don't really like being interrupted or my flow stopping or being unprepared, I guess.
Well, my feeling is that I'm really flexible. I can get a lot of things done. So if I have a landline phone here as well as my cell phone. Because if the cells go out, I got a landline phone. So if a phone rings, and I have an answering service for my business, but if our personal line rings, I could look at the number and weed people out. This is somebody I want to talk to. But if it's a workman doing work around the house, if it's somebody who wants a friend who needs some kind of advice from me, I'll pick it up and talk because I'm also capable of ending calls. And so I don't allow myself to get dragged into things. I was just talking in this workshop I did this week about how you successfully and positively interrupt a buyer, and you can't let the buyer wander off into the desert. So if you text me and then call me, I feel you're taking twice the time.
Really?
One thing, yeah. So why take twice the time? Just pick up the phone and call me. It's my choice whether to answer it, right? It's my choice how long I talk to you. I feel empowered. I can control this. I don't need a text to get ready. I mean, what are you going to do? Email me to tell me you're going to text me, to tell me you're going to Instagram me, to tell me you're going to call me? How's that work? I mean, by that time I'm asleep.
Well, I just thought, like, if I text you before I call you, that's a really nice thing I'm doing for you. Like, that's a gift.
No, it isn't.
It's a
No,
gift in my mind.
Well,
In my mind, in
fine.
my millennial mind.
So you're giving me a gift that I don't appreciate. So it's not really a gift. I mean, it's like you saying, I have some wonderful coal. I want to give you coal. Here's a bucket of coal. And I gave Alan coal. I can't use coal. Why do I want coal? So
But I think you nailed it. It's about, you have the power. You're very good at, you find it empowering and you can get off the line quickly. For
yeah.
me, I'm like, I look at this and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a 20-minute call. And I'm like, I can't afford to give up 20 minutes right now.
Okay, wait, stop there, stop there. So
Yeah.
which of us has to improve the best? Do I have to improve by taking a text and taking an Instagram and taking a TikTok to take a call? Or do I have to improve by realizing you can say to somebody, hey, I'm sorry, I need to stop you here. I have to go.
Yeah, I think we know the answer to that.
Which is a skill you can use not just on the phone.
That's true. Exactly. Maybe it's something I need to work on. What I found very funny about this article, I don't know if you read it. Someone wrote there, she was talking about my generation and how we're so narcissistic that we're so busy we can't accept a 2-minute phone call. And I was like, that's pretty fun. But it is true. Like it's the flow. It's, I don't know, something about it. It's a weird medium. And I know when you talk to us, like, get on the phone and call people. But yeah, sometimes with buyers, I'll be like, hey, giving you a heads up, I'll text them. And it's like, maybe I should just get used to.
There's a philosopher named George Santayana. And Santayana said, the definition of a fanatic is someone who loses sight of their goals and consequently redoubles their efforts.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Alan, been really fun talking and walking with you on episode 1, our pilot. How do you think we went?
I think we went very well. And people might not agree with that, but the hell with that. I think it went well. And as long as we're happy, it's all that matters. I mean, they're not paying to be here.
No, enjoy the show. Let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to riff on in future. We'll definitely keep our eyes out on the news and see what's going on so we can riff on that in this show. Have a lovely good night, Alan.
Have a lovely day, Leanne. And to all of you, have a great day.